Guys like you are only fit to guard a parking lot. As for working here, forget it." Rick, the night shift manager, spat these words at the elderly man sitting silently in the warehouse corner. Under the harsh fluorescent lights, the shadow of a man in a security uniform clutching a cold meal box reflected on the concrete floor. No one in that room knew that the man they just scorned was the CEO of the entire corporation. He said nothing, just smiled, nodded slightly, and quietly took out his phone to send a message. Freeze Rick's account. Emergency meeting at 6 a.m. Have you ever wished to be someone else, just to see how the world treats you? Lucas Hale did exactly that. No suit, no secretary, no luxury car, just a second-hand security uniform and long, silent nights among people who thought he wasn't worth acknowledging. If you've ever been judged solely by your appearance or because you stood lower than others, this story might resonate deeply with you. And if it does, I hope you'll share your feelings in the comments, so others who've experienced the same know they're not alone. For 3 nights, Lucas, the CEO of the largest logistics corporation in the southern United States, lived truly as an invisible person. He slept in a security room of less than 5 square meters, ate cold meals by hand, noting every behavior, every word. But what Lucas didn't anticipate were truths that not only angered him, but made him question even those closest to him. They didn't know the man they called the Old Gatekeeper had once signed contracts worth hundreds of millions of dollars. They didn't know the name Lucas Hale still adorned the top floor of the building they entered every morning. And they certainly didn't know that in just a few hours, the very warehouse they dismissed would become the focal point of the entire U.S. transportation industry. Some things you have to see to believe, and some truths, once revealed, will make you think twice before underestimating anyone again. If you believe that dignity isn't tied to a title and respect shouldn't be distributed based on uniforms, then perhaps you should stay. This story has just begun. Lucas Hale, 42, is the type of person you'd never see in the press, even though he's running one of the largest logistics corporations in the United States. People call him the Silent Wolf. No scandals, no media, just action. And this action was one of the most unusual decisions in his career, applying to work as a night shift security guard at one of his own company's distribution centers. No one knew. No one was informed in advance. Just a single email was sent to the HR department from a fake name, a fake resume, and a request to work the night shift. Why did he do it? Perhaps it was because of a phone call. Late one night, his secretary handed Lucas the phone, her expression strange. "I think you should hear this." On the other end, a woman's voice choked with emotion. "I'm Alex's mother. He works the night shift at the West Warehouse. Yesterday he came home with bruises on his hands, saying his boss threw a clipboard at his face just because he dropped a box. He said he didn't dare report it because no one would listen. I didn't know who else to call, just the hotline." She had no idea she was indirectly speaking to the CEO, but for Lucas, that was all he needed to make a decision. 3 nights later, Lucas stood in front of the West Warehouse, the one rumored to be a hot spot for misconduct and poor management. He wasn't wearing a suit, just a second-hand security uniform bought from a discount store. His watch was hidden. His phone was replaced with a cheap model. His hair was dyed gray, beard was left scruffy. He walked in like any other person, handed over a crumpled application form, and was hired on the spot because they were short on night shift staff. No one recognized him. No one bothered to ask his name a second time. On the first night, he was scolded for greeting too softly. On the second night, assigned to clean the restroom just to keep busy. On the third night, completely ignored when he tried to report that a truck was idling continuously in the cold storage, wasting fuel. Rick, the night shift manager, just said, "Security guards should just sit quietly, mind your own business." Lucas noted everything. Not in a notebook, but in the memory of someone who had spent 2 decades building an empire he now silently questioned. Is it rotting from within? In those silent hours, Lucas observed. A young female employee is constantly being called by offensive nicknames. A Latino employee was forced to work double shifts because his English isn't good, so no need to complain. An older employee, perhaps the only one polite to Lucas, mocked them as old junk. He wondered, if I, the person with ultimate authority in this system, am treated this way when I don't carry a title, then how do those with nothing but their hands survive here? Lucas didn't record videos, didn't secretly film, didn't need evidence, because he understood that what needed to be exposed wasn't just behavior, but culture. Toxic culture doesn't need cameras to be seen clearly. Just need to stay silent for a while and listen to what others are forced to swallow. If you've ever entered a workplace where you felt like you were merely existing, not truly seen, you're not alone. And if you're willing, I'd like to invite you to leave a comment below, not for me, but for those like you, reading it and needing a foothold. On the fourth night, Lucas sat silently in the security camera room. On the screen, shadows of people moved back and forth, silent, weary, and invisible in the eyes of those in power. A small crash echoed from the loading area. He sprang up. A large box had fallen off a shelf, landing on a worker's foot. No one called for help. Rick merely stepped out, stared at the person clutching their leg in pain, then turned back inside, calling out, "Be more careful next time. Take a day off. Be back tomorrow." Lucas watched everything through the camera. He recorded the audio, not for evidence, but to remember the chilling feeling, a shiver down his spine. Returning to the receiving area, Lucas met Emma, the youngest employee there, just 22, working night shifts to support her young child. She whispered, "You're new, right? Don't let Rick see you helping others. He hates do-gooders. He once changed someone's schedule just to talk back." Lucas asked, "Then why do you stay?" Emma replied without hesitation, "Because I have nowhere else to go." That evening, he shared a meal with an older employee named Malik. 61 years old, formerly a driver, now working nights to care for his sick wife. Malik said, eyes fixed on his cold meal, "Here, there are 2 kinds of people, those who endure and those who command. And at my age, options are limited." Lucas said nothing, just nodded, but in his mind a decision was forming. On the 5th night, he decided to take a further step. As Rick was loudly scolding an employee for mislabeling a package, Lucas approached and gently said, "Excuse me, I think he just made a mistake. No need to shout." The entire warehouse fell silent. Rick turned, eyes blazing. "What did you say?" "A security guard interfering with warehouse operations." He stepped closer, finger pointing directly at Lucas's face. "Who do you think you are to talk to me like that?" Lucas merely smiled. "Good question. I think you'll have your answer soon." Rick had no idea, just like everyone else in the warehouse, that a few hundred kilometers away, a series of emails were being opened on devices belonging to the company's top executives. The attachments included audio recordings, camera footage, and lists of violations. The national HR director had just written the first line of an email for the next morning. "Urgent. Serious violations at facility TX-04. CEO requests immediate action." Throughout his final night at the warehouse, Lucas did nothing out of the ordinary, still sat on duty, still silent, but his eyes now held not scrutiny but determination. At one point, Malik passed by and saw him cleaning the break room table, then softly said, "You're different from the others. Don't know why, but thank you." Lucas just smiled. He had never thought a simple "thank you" could weigh so heavily on his heart. The next morning, before dawn, the entire Texas 4 warehouse was ordered to halt operations temporarily. Day shift employees arrived to find the regional director's car already parked. 2 individuals in black suits, wearing badges from the headquarters HR department, were checking the employee roster. The atmosphere was tense. Rick stepped out, confused but trying to maintain composure. "What's going on? Who authorized the shutdown?" A middle-aged man with a stern expression handed Rick a document. "Emergency investigation order as per the request of senior management." Rick scoffed. "Another political stunt from HQ? I've been running this place for 7 years, and it's been smooth." A voice interrupted from behind, calm yet firm. "Then you won't mind if I ask a few questions?" Everyone turned. Lucas stood at the entrance, no longer in a security uniform. He wore a finely tailored navy suit, his gaze sharp, a charcoal tie symbolizing silent authority. Rick was stunned. His lips trembled. "You are—" Lucas approached. Not angry, not raising his voice, just a composed smile. "I'm the person you called a freeloader guarding the door. Also the founder of Hale Logistics. Also the one who hired you. And now the one ending your tenure here." Silence enveloped the room. Some employees peeked from behind shelves, disbelief in their eyes. Emma stepped out from the work area, hands trembling, whispering, "No way." Lucas looked around. Not seeking admiration, just seeking truth. "I've heard about how you've been running this warehouse. I've seen it firsthand, and worse, I experienced what many here endure daily." Rick tried to regain composure. I was just following protocol. I have complete reports. Those people are weak, can't handle the job pressure." Lucas interrupted. "No, Rick, they're not weak. They just haven't been treated like humans." He turned to the HR representative. "Initiate the process to reassign the entire management team, suspend Rick and related managers, and schedule a regional meeting this afternoon." Rick protested. "You can't do this. I have a contract. I have rights." Lucas looked at him, disappointment evident in his eyes. "You had rights until you used them to trample others." No further words were exchanged. Rick was escorted out. Lucas entered the warehouse for the first time, not met with disdainful glances. Emma approached, eyes red. "I didn't know. I'm sorry I couldn't help." Lucas placed a hand on her shoulder. "You did help, by staying, by doing your job well. That's the bravest act." He turned to those silently standing around. "I didn't come here to intimidate anyone. I came to restore something we've long forgotten. That respect isn't a privilege, it's a foundation." 3 days later, Rick's nameplate was removed from the manager's office door. Simultaneously, an official memo from headquarters was dispatched to all branches. Respect from the ground up. This comprehensive policy aimed to overhaul the treatment of logistics staff, from security guards and drivers to warehouse workers. At TX-04, the atmosphere shifted immediately during the first meeting. Lucas didn't stand on a podium. He sat in a circle with the employees. No lengthy speeches, no corporate jargon. Just one simple question. If you had the chance to redesign this place from scratch, what would you do? Initially, there was silence. Then Malik, the silver-haired gentleman, raised his hand. "I'd like a real break room, not just a corner with a broken plastic chair. Emma smiled, genuinely for the first time. I'd want an anonymous feedback board, so everyone can speak up without fear of losing their job. Lucas nodded, noting each suggestion without interruption. And then something remarkable happened. For the first time, those who once feared speaking began to feel heard. The company didn't transform overnight, but within a week, a new break room was established. Shelves were reorganized based on employee suggestions. An anonymous feedback board was installed next to the time clock. One day, Lucas noticed Emma instructing a new employee on how to use the pallet jack. She turned, recognized him, and shyly said, "I never imagined I'd confidently talk to the CEO, especially while holding a barcode scanner." Lucas smiled. "That's precisely why you deserve to be here." He handed her an envelope. Inside was an appointment letter. Night shift HR assistant manager, responsible for new employee training. Emma shed tears, but this time they weren't from stress. A month later, internal reports indicated employee turnover decreased by 37%. Positive feedback increased fivefold. Most importantly, for the first time, all Hale logistics warehouses underwent training on human dignity, a concept previously absent in the demanding logistics industry. Lucas no longer served as a security guard, but occasionally he returned to Texas 4 at night, dressed casually, sitting quietly in the camera room as before. Not to supervise, but to remind himself that a corporation's strength isn't measured by the number of contracts, but by how it treats those who work silently behind the scenes. 6 months after Lucas last donned the security uniform, Texas 4 transformed from a warehouse filled with musty odors and shouting into a beacon of positive change. A group of logistics students from the state university came for internships, invited officially by the company. They were astonished to see break rooms are stocked with books, coffee, and mental health support systems. A small wall displaying anonymous thank you notes from employees to one another. And right at the entrance, a sign: "Respect doesn't start with titles. It starts with you." Emma now led the onboarding program for the entire southern region. Malik transitioned to an operations advisor role for newly established warehouses. As for Rick, no one knew for sure, but rumors suggested he took a job at a small company, this time genuinely on the night shift. It's said that one day he saw an elderly security guard at the door and promptly bowed in greeting. Lucas returned to the headquarters office, but he no longer occupied the top floor. He chose a modest office on the ground floor, where each morning he could shake hands with the water delivery person, greet the janitor, and have coffee with the technical team. One day, a timid intern asked him in the elevator, "Sir, is it true you once worked as a security guard?" Lucas smiled. "Yes, and it taught me more than an MBA from Harvard." The intern was taken aback. Lucas gently patted his shoulder. Being a CEO is challenging, but being someone who listens, that's even harder. If you can master that, you'll go far. Lucas's story never made headlines. There were no viral videos, no awards, just quiet, profound changes. Individuals once overlooked now had the opportunity to lead. And an organization once deemed fine realized that being merely adequate wasn't enough without compassion. And if you've ever wished someone would stand up for you, perhaps it's your turn to stand up for others. Because change doesn't start with the system. It begins with someone willing to step into the shadows to listen to the faintest voices.